Do you think there are forces that try to intentionally erase a part of history or?
Yes, of course. I would say that force is whoever's in control. So I don't know if it's one universal force. It's probably lots of local ones, or lots of political ones.
Yeah, this was the thing that I was trying to say, that it goes deeper than that. It's not like just like, oh yeah, people in Turkey or Turkish government decided not to go ahead with the expedition. Those sites are owned by some type of finance company.
Yes, but why? It's a finance company. What's a pyramid got to do with them?
Maybe they can find a free source of energy, at least the knowledge of it, how to create it, how to create energy from ether or ley lines.
In my opinion, there have been civilizations on this planet probably for millions of years that come and go and that we really see no traces of, excepting now and then some interesting little bit of thing that's millions of years old turns up. I remember seeing a picture of a wheel in a mine somewhere deep in Africa. I can't remember if it was 300,000 years or 3 million, but it was really, really old anyway.
It feels like we look through the keyhole, and as soon as we want to open the door and actually get a wider view of what is happening, the door being shut with force. How much of our history is what actually happened? if you want to
You expect me to know that? I can guess.
Yeah, your personal opinion about it.
How much of our history is what actually happened?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can answer that correctly because, two different people are going to give two different versions of the same event.
Yeah.
But that's a very good question. And I'm trying to find something more wise to say than what I just did.
No, it's all right. Just say what's in your mind.
But my first reaction when you said that is, of course, it's not the whole story. And of course, there are many stories about the same event. I don't know what more to say on that, Marnie. That's a huge, huge can of worms you're opening up.
Yes. I didn't know it's a can of worms.
I think it's a big can of worms, or a Pandora's box.
Yes.
All this stuff's going to come out that maybe disturbs our status quo view of how things are. And I guess everyone has one of those, and we're sure it's correct. But how do we know it's really correct?
Do you think?
And compared to whom? Sorry.
No worries.
Do
you think there are forces that try to intentionally erase a part of history or?
Yes, of course. It's probably always been that way. Yes. I'm sure of it.
It's not just a thought. It's not just assumption.
It might not be quite the angle you're thinking about, but as New Zealand is my home country, I know a little bit about things that have been brushed over, if not erased, and that one of them is the colonialization of New Zealand by the British. And I learnt at school how kind they were and thoughtful about the natives and etc., etc., etc. But part of my family, my grandmother was from a Maori family, and so we know that this really was a long way from the truth. And I think if you look at the story of the settlement of the United States, you'll find very strong parallels there too, that the native people were tried to wipe them out very much, but you won't get that in the history books. You will get that the Indians were terrible and tried to kill the new settlers and things like this. And if you only need to look at cowboys and Indians story that I grew up with, the cowboys were always the good guys and the Indians were there to come and destroy all their work and kill them. I mean, that has come from some propaganda background.
Well, I think the cowboys and Indians or Native Americans originated in the times that Apache was the tribe of Apache, and Apache himself
Okay.
was attacking cowboys or
Yeah,
you
well,
know
the poor beggars
Western
are probably
people.
trying to defend themselves from these
I
invaders.
know
Yeah.
it's just like how
Uh,
you pursue. Like you skip a
yes.
part that is very important to like for the arc of the story to be told fully.
Yes.
Like right now, with what's happening in Palestine, it's like they
Oh,
just skip the part,
that's big can
skip
of
this like
worms, Marnie.
70 years of like torturing and being oppressed, and they just start from 7th of October. So that's how it is.
Yes.
So the story of cowboys and Indians were like that. They started from the point that was serving them in picturing them as a good guys.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, for example, with the cowboys and Indians, of course, there's good and bad on both sides too. But the point of this question is, or this discussion is, how things get brushed over or wiped out, as you said. And my point is that I think that's common. That probably happens all the time. In fact, I don't know how you're ever going to know if you find one so-called true depiction of events, because to get a neutral person, well, I'm not sure they exist. So every story is going to have some color, isn't it?
Mm.
And I think that probably can expand out to, and what I want to say, civilizations too. Where I'm leading with that is Maori people have the story that they were the first ones there, but there are actually some traces of some other form of civilization. And no one knows who, where, or why, but stone walls built out in the rainforest. The Maori people didn't build in stone. But that kind of gets pushed away. People know about it, but it's sort of, it's made less important, if you like to say. So there's another layer of colouring again. So I think this is normal. This is how it is.
So what I'm trying to ask is that, so there is a force actively trying to keep those things hidden from us.
I would say that force is whoever's in control of the country, area, whatever. Yes, they want to have the history shown this way or that way to suit their needs. So I don't know if it's one universal force. It's probably lots of local ones, or lots of political ones.
Yeah, this was the thing that I was trying to say, that it goes deeper than that. It's not like just like, oh yeah, people in Turkey or Turkish government decided not to go ahead with the expedition, exploring further those sites. Those sites are owned by like some type of finance companies. I don't know the name, so I cannot really open
It's a
up the
strange
source.
mix.
Yes, and it's not only Göbekli Tepe; it's in so many places, so many other places, like the Pyramid of Sun in Bosnia.
Okay. Yep.
That site is I don't know if it's owned by them, but they have the right. They bought the right to expeditions and things like that
Why do you think they would do that?
to stop it from going any further. I guess
How would that be of benefit to them?
for the truth to not be revealed.
Yes, but why? It's a finance company. What's a pyramid got to do with them?
Maybe they can find a free source of energy.
Oh,
Maybe they can find like they can discover some type of like a free source of energy with the at least the knowledge of it, how to create energy from ether, or ley lines or
Yes. Well, I would say in that case, the oil companies should own them, shouldn't they?
I think this company, there's not a company, it's an organization. I cannot remember the name. That's just serving. They just serving the, because they like to keep the things the same, and to keep the things the same, you have to slow down or stop at some points.
You know,
Advancement.
oh, sure. Okay. Just if you wanted to take this angle further, it would be interesting then to see who owns, for example, Pumapunku in South America, which they suspect was some kind of technical place and not necessarily a temple. So that that would be a good follow-up, see if it's the same. I don't know how you find these things out, but it would be interesting to know, wouldn't it?
Yeah, maybe we can Google it.
And there are many other. I'm jumping ahead here, but too bad. I mean, there are pyramids all over the planet, not just in Egypt, of course.
Yeah, why don't they talk about the pyramids in China? It's like the aerial footage of it looks exactly like
That's right.
a pyramid of Giza.
And of course, all the ones in Central America,
Yeah,
etc.
and the formation of them, how they located close to each other is exactly the same.
Yes.
And it's like pointing out to the stars with the same formation.
I have an idea there's some in Indonesia too. But I mean, they're probably everywhere, but this is the ones that come to mind. My point with mentioning those is if we could see who owns those as well or has an interest in them, to see if that would be very interesting, Marnie. See what. Wow, I like that.
Well, I heard from Billy Carson that inside of the Pyramid of Giza is owned by NASA.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason.
Okay.
They like to have, they're just into art and...
Oh, how nice of them.
Yes.
Yeah, I see.
They like to keep it like clean.
Yes, of course.
But recently they found another entrance to, I think, the King's Chamber. Or they find another like a space going... They haven't released any footage of it yet, but they released at least the news that.
So going back to your first site, and I cannot pronounce the name. It's in Turkey. That one.
Göbekli Tepe.
Thank you. I wonder what's hiding there then, because it doesn't look like a pyramid. It looks more like another version of Stonehenge that what I've seen.
Yeah.
And maybe that's an energy source too. Who knows?
Yeah, or it's like a calendar that tells you like the story of what happened in like 12,600 years ago, or like they haven't excavated, but they have like a radar, how do you say that? What's that? LiDAR or footage of other sites that are buried. But they didn't excavate it, so people can go and visit. People can go, by people, I mean like experts can go and see what can be possibly the message there. But that site that has been excavated and is open for people to visit, that tells the story about 12,600 years ago. It was a catastrophic event.
Yes, but that's quite common for that time, isn't it? That there was a lot of places got wiped out on the planet. Yeah. In fact, if I remember correctly, nearly every culture on the planet has a parallel story.
Yeah.
To like the Great Flood, as it were. Yeah. But it would be nice to know more about who they were, because they're not actually part of Sumeria, are they? Or Sumerian culture. It was much earlier than Sumerians. Even if it's in a similar area, I wonder who they were. That would be nice to know.
They're much older from Sumerian, but we don't know if Sumerian, the way they dated Sumerian culture, it doesn't give me a good, like, oh yeah, accurate. Right on, man. It feels like they've been older. They have the king list. It tells you like it goes back to 45,000 years ago on this planet at least. But they say like, oh yeah, from 5,000 backward, it's just mythology. They
Well,
accept until 5,000.
I-
Yeah, okay, these are the kings, but these are just mythology. Like a king ruled for 2,500 years. That's just mythology.
I learnt in Sunday school that humans started 8,000 years ago. So, well, where does that leave us?
Yes.
In my opinion, there have been civilizations on this planet probably for millions of years that come and go, and that we really see no traces of, excepting now and then some interesting little bit of thing that's millions of years old turns up. I remember seeing a picture of a wheel in a mine somewhere deep in Africa. I can't remember if it was 300,000 years or 3 million, but it was really, really old anyway. And deep down in a mine, some wheel-formed thing. So that's my opinion of the big picture of civilizations. That, I mean, we can only see what our little tiny piece of life, in that we are only here for such an incredibly short time. If you look at it geologically, it just makes sense that, you know, we see our own backyard, but there are many, 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 many more backyards probably back through time.
Okay, if I want to put it in a way that like everybody will understand, it feels like we look through the keyhole.
Yeah.
And as soon as we want to open the door and actually get a wider view of what is happening, the door being closed on us, the door being shut with force. And that's the thing that I'm, not trusting any narrative that comes from archaeology and everything. It's like, okay, but you stop excavating. Why? Tell me why.
Yeah.
Tell me what is more fascinating than a site that is that you find that is 12,600 years old. What? Like if you will dig down, you will find that there are like older sites down there that goes back to 20,000 years old.
Yeah.
You didn't. Why? I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't.
No.
That's why I'm like, okay, yeah.
I wish I had an answer for you there. I want to know too now. I didn't actually realize that there was this thing about not excavating. But having said that, I did just hear a woman archaeologist talking about the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. And she works with aerial archaeology. And she estimated that 0.2% of the Valley of the Kings has been excavated. I doubt if that's a plot. It's just very, very big. But who knows? Maybe there are forces out there that don't want us to know too much about our past. And I know the same. I'm only just speaking about places I'm aware of, but like there's Pompeii in Napoli. And from what I understand, a very, very small area of Pompeii and Herculaneum have been excavated. And wow, who knows what we'll find there. That is an amazing record of that time. Of course, it's much more recent than what we're talking about. But in that it was created by Vesuvius, it was like time froze at that point. So a lot of amazing information there.
How many years ago?
what comes to me is 79 AD,
Mm-hmm.
but don't quote me on that. It just came out of my head.
Oh,
But around that time, yeah. Freaky place too. I don't know if you've been there, but
no.
and I don't want to go back. I went there as an 8-year-old, and people where people died, when their bodies rotted, it left a space in the ash, and they have filled those spaces with plaster, so you could actually see a plaster model of how the people died.
Oh,
And for an 8-year-old kid, that was very disturbing. It was my first real contact with death, or a form of death. Yeah, and this is a big aside, Marnie, sorry, but
is there any speculation that what happened there?
they know exactly what happened. The volcano blew up, and there was a great, I forgot the name of it, like a great torrent of ash that came, the hot ash that fell, and there was just no escape. It was the gases that apparently killed people first, but then
Washed
eventually
off with lava.
lava's not really an issue because it moves so slowly, but ash, it moves extremely fast, or falls extremely fast, depending. You can get these great like flows of ash, and that's got a special name, which, not being a geologist, I cannot remember. But also the ash falling in great quantities. And that's what happened. It just, like this great rain of ash, and it just covered them up. Poof. Some of the people from Herculaneum managed to escape in some tunnels, which went down to the beach. I'm not sure if they escaped all of them, because there were some people found in the tunnels, but I know others did get away on the boat. And there was a very good report of this by a man whose name I've forgotten, sitting on the other side of the Bay of Naples.
So it feels like they trying to erase the part of the history that might bring up some questions. Questions about our origin, the knowledge of, most important part for me is that what we are and what we're capable of.
Yes.
Because the rest
Good
is like,
question.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
like people been around for like, I don't know, a million years, let's say.
Sure. Yeah.
That's not the objective for me to figure out how long ago we were around. I want to know what we did know about ourselves. How
Good
did
question.
we live our life?
Yes. On that point, I would really love somebody to put the pieces together of Pumapunku, because what's so fascinating about this site is not just what it was, but the fact that it looks like it has exploded, or some huge force has ripped it apart, and all the pieces are still lying, presumably, where they fell after the event that caused them to be where they are today.
But there is a intact pyramid as well, right?
It's not a pyramid. It looks more like a technical business place, landing site, or some kind of factory, or no one knows. But it doesn't have the same, what's the word? The same decoration, the same structure as anything else. And that is the thought that it has been to do with technology or transport, or maybe a landing site or something in that line. But it's such a big mystery too how it got blown apart. I mean, they're vast, great rocks or stones, cut perfectly as usual, but all over the place. But imagine if you stuck it all together again. That might give us some clue to what we're capable of.
Oh, yeah, I'm mixing it up in my head with Gunung Padang.
Okay, I don't know about that.
Pumapunku Gunung Padang is the pyramid that is been built on top of a pyramid, built on top of a pyramid, and they believe like the bottom, the deepest pyramid is the oldest, and
Yeah, yes,
so it's
very
like,
possible.
but they haven't, go further with the.
They haven't excavated right down. No, not surprised. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Because there are like geologists that says like these rocks, they find like some like carbon date material, and they say like these rocks are the bottom rocks are 25,000 years ago, but it's been debunked by some geologists as well. So it's not clear how old they are, but they haven't went further because one theory got debunked, and they're like, okay, yeah, stop it, drop it now, drop it. You see, it's not that old. So why do you need to go any further with it? Why do you need to dig? Don't dig. Stop. Yeah, just everybody, everyone's happy. No problem. So,
well, Marnie, it might take us back to stuff we've talked about before that we realized, okay, we can't build, we humans cannot build, we don't have this knowledge. But for example, if we put Pumapunku back together, that's all that might show us that, no, we couldn't have done this.
Have they dated Pumapunku?
I can't answer that. I'm sure they must have. A lot of research has been done on it.
The oldest, if they have dated it. Pumapunku.
I think there's an H in Punku.
That's interesting. This layer was deposited during the first of 3 construction epochs and dates the initial construction of the Pumapunku to between 536 and 680.
That's quite recent.
Yeah. And do you buy that? Do you buy it?
I'm just guessing, but I would say it's older than that. But I don't know better than anyone else.
I don't know. It doesn't say what layer deposited during the first of 3 construction epochs. Am I reading it right? Is it?
Yeah, and that's the place. And you'll see these H-shaped stones. There are many, many of those, but most of them are lying all over the place in heaps and smashed and things.
But it doesn't make sense. How do they figure out that it's like based on the dating is less than 2,000 years old?
I think we need to become archaeologists to answer that.
I think there are archaeologists that have different theory about it or date it differently, but they just get smashed by big archaeology, and
by censored archaeology, you mean?
If the archaeology is your hobby, then you can thrive. But if it's your main source of career, then you don't want to destroy it. You don't want to go against this established narrative.
You might have to come up with the correct answers.
They have been coming up with correct answers, or contrary to what
correct.
Yes. yeah. That's the whole point.
Okay.
Yeah. Gotta follow.
I see. Don't rock the boat.
Don't try to stands out.
Oh, gee, Marnie.
Nobody likes a spoiler or
yeah.
Don't be spoiled. So, by saying all this, I just want to like clear out the intention of us being like kept in shadow about all these mysteries. Our
Control.
yeah, our past, our origin.
Let's go back to late Middle Ages, Renaissance time there, when Galileo, I think I've got my facts right here. Galileo came up with the idea that the Earth went round the sun and not vice versa. It was really not popular with the Catholic Church because in their views, everything went around the Earth. Earth was the center of everything. And I'm pretty sure he got silenced big time.
He got killed, I guess.
I don't think he was killed, but I don't think he
Wasn't
was.
he executed?
I don't remember that Galileo was executed, but I know it went against the church big time. What the consequences were, I can't remember, but I don't think they were very healthy for him.
No. Well, apparently before Galileo, there was a woman that discovered the same fact.
Oh, I'm sure many
She
people
got-
have. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe crucified. Anyway, killed.
Yes. Yeah, well, this is all control, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know? And the same with the witch hunt. I'm sure that was just because they were afraid that there would be people that had powers that they couldn't control. And so what do? Wipe them out.
Yeah, it feels like back then people had still like some sources of like ancient knowledge about how to use your psychic powers, how to manifest, and they had the sources. It's not like a guesswork that we do now.
And how to heal people with herbs.
Exactly. Not only that with herbs, but with like frequency
Yes,
and
I'm
energy
sure.
and vibration, and there were these type of rituals that they were.
Well, direct competition with the church.
Yes, exactly. It's like, yeah, no.
Yeah,
Cut that
that's
shit
what I
off.
mean.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's control.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know why we should need to be controlled now too much. Oh God,
So you go to your 9 to 5 every day and get your salary and
there's that one. Yes,
contribute
of
to the
course. Yeah, right.
society, and you don't need to ask questions. I give you everything you need. What are you talking about?
Yes, I'm with you there totally. But what's that got to do with archaeology? What are we going to find out there that's going to rock the boat?
That's the question. That's the
Yeah,
question
I
that
know.
everybody needs to ask
Yeah.
and follow up.
Well, what would you like them to find? There you go.
What would I like them to find? The truth of it. I'm not like, I don't have any bias towards any result. I want to
Okay.
know the
Yep.
truth of it. And by truth of
answer.
it is that,
Yep.
okay, has it been made by us? Has it been made by another type of, another race of intelligence being?
Yeah.
If so, how did we come up to be human beings? Does it have anything to do with our origin?
Yes.
These are
of
all the
course.
questions that are like a chain of questions that
Excellent.
it comes up.
Yeah.
But they don't want us to ask those questions. They just want us to buy the narrative that, like, yeah, it was in the sea, they came out, and then evolution, and then you learn how to ride, and then society, this and that. These empires.
Then
and
came ABBA.
Here we are sitting in the safest time of our history. What you nagging about? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I feel like a fool. I don't feel like human in the fullest capacity. That's why I'm like, something is missing. Something is being taken away from us. And like, I'm not just talking about in terms of a spiritual, a spiritual part of me. It's like I feel like we human were a lot more capable
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
in all the way possible. But somehow, some events like kept us like limited. We're limited, like even though with our like a greatest examples of human being, like Olympic athletes and this and that, there is a still limitation because we haven't found the true capability that we have. So that's all. I think if we ask those questions and if we get some type of answer that
You make me want to go and be an archaeologist now. Seriously.
I don't think I have it in me. By the way, I shit on archaeologists or big archaeology all the time, but at the same time, I applaud them for spending, because it's such a boring, profession to have. The result is amazing, but the process of figuring things out and excavating and this and that is misery. And going to those environments is not a nice environment. And doing that, but to as soon as they get close to some type of discovery that will change our understanding of history, they stop, and that pisses me off. I don't know if they stop themselves or they've been stopped by uh, outside forces, and it doesn't matter at this point.
I have a good friend. He's a New Zealander. He's a very well-known archaeologist. He's now in his early 80s, and he has worked passionately all his life researching, finding out the origins of humans, especially in Africa. I'm just wondering if, as a follow-up to what we're doing here, if we might be able to talk to him.
Yes.
Would be very interesting.
Yes.
And see if he can throw some light on what you are saying.
Oh, that would be lovely.
It would.
That would be lovely.
It would be very nice. Very special person. And I mean, I'm not an archaeologist, so I'm just talking off the top of my head. But he's extremely, extremely well respected.
Yeah,
person.
That would be lovely.
He is known because he discovered the oldest known human tool in I think it was in Kenya.
Wow.
So maybe we can have a follow-up with that and get something more specific.
So yeah, the thing that I'm fascinated about is that our history and our kind of hidden or forbidden, it's not even hidden because people like have some sources about things that are happening. They have some type of evidence that doesn't like you cannot explain it. It's just like unexplainable, and it doesn't fit with the narrative that is out there about them.
Yeah.
As I said, as recent as like 1900 with Tartarian Empire. There is a lot of talks about it, and it's like a myth, like a legend right now. And I don't think even like people who are speculating about it with like a credential and everything have the gut or would like to risk their career or their, everything that they've built to talk about Tartarian.
Yeah.
But it's very fascinating because I'm watching and I'm like, can it be that they erased like a recent empire that was a global empire? Because people think like, okay, there are some historic records about Tartars and they come from Mongolian Empire. But apparently it goes back to Noah or descendants of Noah.
Yes.
One of them has two sons. One of them were Tartar, one of them were Mongol.
Okay.
And apparently the Mongolian and Tartarian were two separate empires. And the Tartarian wasn't just in like Russia, North Asia. They were all over the globe. So there were Chinese Tartarian, there were, you know what I mean? It was a global empire. even in North America later on.
Okay.
The theory is that there was this global empire that has been erased from our history. And if you think about it, then you'll be like, oh, how, when, why?
Yeah, especially why.
Yeah. Because they had this amazing architecture technique that they use, and these buildings were like harvesting energy from the ley lines, from the human's body and human's voice. There's a lot about them, and there is actually a book about it. Yeah, this book could be very well be the greatest revisionist history book ever written in modern times, to date about the greatest lie about our common world history. From Russia to China to Africa to India to Australia and New Zealand.
Uh-huh. And who's covered this up, I
To
wonder?
North and South Americas. There have been swept from modern history, his storybook.
Hmm.
Yeah, funny. And were likely destroyed in the 19th to 20th centuries, along with many of their amazing buildings. So, yeah, that sums it up. What actually happened, what I said.
Okay.
So, but let's see the author. Who's the fucking author? That should be on top.
Money.
Do I have a hard time to find it? Can you find it?
What am I looking for?
The author of it?
James W. Lee.
But there is another book that has been like published by someone else,
Okay.
written by someone else.
Well,
That is a little older than this.
then we need to know who has covered this up and why, and where are the remains that we can go and look at.
What I'm trying to get into right now is that there is talk about the Chinese Tartarian. This was a global empire, and all this, even they had the knowledge of buildings. They received the knowledge of buildings from the same people that build, same species, or same whatever
Beings.
same beings that creates pyramids, that builds pyramids. So maybe they didn't have the same structures that they built, but they had the knowledge. So that's why all these buildings and structures that they made is on ley lines. So it's some type of harvesting energy machines more than a building. And apparently they had like advanced vehicles to fly, like these airships that would be charged on top of the buildings. And it's fascinating to just talk about it, but it's like talking about a dream world or something, you know?
Yeah.
Because
But you know, a lot of sacred sites are on ley lines. We know that already. For example, Glastonbury in England, Stonehenge, the New Age Centre Findhorn in Scotland is on a ley line, etc. There are very, very many known sites. And of course, I'm talking about all over Europe too. A lot of the very ancient churches are built on ley lines and on specific spots too, where there is good energy. So I'm not just talking about Tatars here, but I mean that knowledge is well known, has been well known. I doubt if it gets used much here and now in these days, but the knowledge is still there.
so these great resets, because in the Matrix, famously there is a famous scene with Architect that says like, "Oh, this is not the first version of Matrix. This is the sixth.
Yes. Okay. Wow.
In previous five, was this and this and this and this. Like the first one was flawless, and it was like this utopia, and people rejected it.
Oh,
People in the pods.
I see.
So based on that, it's like you can see the evidence of we being reset, human beings at least, being reset and start from scratch again. Because that fits in the simulation theory. Like, how do you reset the simulation? You just erase,
Push delete, yeah.
push, delete, format
Yeah.
everything,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
start again.
But what you're describing is a pattern of civilization that goes back as far as we can imagine, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the procedure of that I've no idea, of course, but I mean the knowledge of that it has happened, and it will probably happen to us too sooner or later. We're not special. We'll probably get reset.
We are special.
Yeah, right. Well, you might be, Marnie, but I'm not.
we are. I understand what you're saying, but what I'm trying to I'm trying to picture the image of
Yeah,
there is a possibility that there were eras before us and it's been reset and
Absolutely.
destroyed,
yes,
and we don't know, we know nothing about them
exactly.
intentionally, that we don't know anything about them. Because we think like, oh, we are this great civilization, Western civilization especially, like, and we are front runners in science, technology, everything, and this is like, how do you say? We are invincible. That's the belief.
Yes.
But we're vulnerable as a baby deer in a rainforest.
Uh-oh.
The way everything's set up
Or
is
on a
like
motorway.
a comet can just destroy life on our planet.
Yes.
And
I'm sure that's happened too. Well, apparently
exactly,
happened to the
and
poor old
that
dinosaurs.
doesn't happen by accident either. That's my belief.
Okay.
In my opinion, it wasn't an accident. It was just like a random comet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, very at least I know there is no science-based fact that I can refer to, but
No, I don't
that's my
think.
gut feeling.
I don't think while we're here living life as humans that we have access to that knowledge, because we're sort of like we're down in the valley living life, but when you get up on the mountaintops, you might get a clearer view symbolically. But yeah, I'm not saying against you, Moni, at all. That's very, very, very likely, because we know that the likes of Anunnaki have helped us to evolve. More than that, I don't even dare speculate. But and maybe there are natural ways that we annihilate ourselves too. Like I know the Maya culture, they had a huge problem with drought, which caused their whole civilization to just disperse. I mean, they didn't disappear, but their civilization did. The Maya's still there, but their great empire collapsed because of 100 years of drought. So there might be more than just one scenario, but I'm sure what you're saying has a lot of depth to it too, that someone pushes delete, they screwed up, start again.
Yeah.
Or, oh wow, these guys have done well, let's move them on to the next planet, I'm sure that happens too in some civilizations.
Yeah, it's like a onion layers. Like you peel one layer and there is another deeper layer, and you don't know how deep it goes, because you just talk about forbidden history, then you come back to simulation theory, and then you try to mash them up, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. If it didn't work, and they're like, oh yeah, no, not the result that we wanted, so let's just wipe it out. And it sounds cruel and seems cruel, but who knows what we are? Maybe we just like our energy would transcend to another avatar
Yeah.
in another simulation. So it's not, it's cruelty free to do that. But we see this evidence of, even in India, there are sites that people are like instantly turned to ashes, or like even like their bones were melted on the ground.
Yes.
So you see that, you see, wow, man, that's a tough way to go. That's horrible. It feels like nuclear bomb went off.
Or maybe it did. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
When you think about it, in a way, every time we die and get reborn, that's a reset too on a individual level, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know, I mean, when Marnie's finished being Marnie, you'll pop off and float around for a while and maybe decide to come back as Lyle
yes,
or someone else.
yeah.
You know, it's a form of reset too on a, it's not a whole civilization, but I mean on a personal level.
If you want to talk in terms of video games, I know you're not like a big fan of video games. Are you?
No,
Okay.
I'm
So,
the wrong generation for that. Sorry.
well, you know, is that dying and being reborn or being reincarnated, that's just playing the same game and you die and you start the same game again. But
Oh,
these great resets are like
yeah.
when there is a
It's a
newer
new-
version of the game.
Yes. I
And
understand.
regardless of if you don't even
Yeah.
die in that last game, you have to move on to the next game.
Yep. That's a good analogy. Yeah. Yeah.
I think just to like explain what my point
Yes.
is, these great resets, and we don't get to know about them, or it's been hidden on the plain side, kind of, because we see this evidence, like they show like all these buildings, all these monuments that is
Yeah.
in USA. They believe that it's been found, hasn't been built. So however true is that? It's fascinating to know, like, oh yeah, that, as crazy as it sounds, makes a lot of sense.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
To me, that's a bit dodgy, that bit, because you would think then when people first came, the Europeans first came to the States and found existing buildings, we would have had some knowledge of that. You know, I don't know why you would cover that up, but I've never heard of anything like that. Have you?
Not until recently.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that these Tatars are given a lot of credit for having great knowledge of buildings, but I want to just mention that there has been a great deal of knowledge about sacred architecture as far back as, well, I don't know how far back, at least back to Egyptians, Sumerians, and certainly Chinese and Indian architects had incredible knowledge of how energy moves through a building. That knowledge, that wisdom comes from nature. So I'm sure the Tatars would have had it too, and maybe more.
I think this great reset, whatever you want to call it, the theory is that they wiped off the kind of advancement that they achieved. So they start with the new agenda, new way of, like, they shift the focus of our advancement to plastic, to oil and coal based industry. And that's not good for us, that's not good for our environment. But so I don't understand why it was just greed. It was just like people trying to make benefits, or there is a bigger purpose behind it that we don't know. Or are we serving some type of different races of beings from, like, these are the question in my head, like, are we just like tools, pawn in the game, or do we have control? Are we being controlled by other human beings, or there is a like a greater evil force, for a lack of better term, or there is a greater good force that is battling, and we are just down here receiving, and I don't know, we're confused about our identity and who we are and what we are and what we need to do, what are our purposes. And that's the thing, because that's how it feels. That's what people are so drawn to, these narratives, this kind of like, hypothesis that have it been another like modern technological advanced civilization that recently has been erased from our history and we haven't heard about it? Can it be? And people are loving it, however truthful, however
Yeah.
if there is any merit to it.
I suggest that you and I could do some really good, deeper research on that. Like find some Tartar buildings, find some, maybe there's some Tartar people still left. Who knows? There must be. I mean, I read about Tartars at school.
Of course, the descendants of Tartars are, like, that's not something that needs a speculation. There are Tartars.
So,
but the way that they try to frame them is like, no, it's a Mongolian, then there are descendants from Mongolian, and they're named Tartars.
But what I mean is, let's go and hear it from the horse's mouth. Hey, Tartar, tell us your history. Did you guys get wiped out or pushed down or hidden? There must be some left.
There are Persian left, but they don't know the actual history of them.
No, okay.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I understand, but these people
they must have some knowledge of their past.
Probably. I'm not sure even they have their own country now.
Oh, no. No, I've never heard of a country called Tartar. Have you?
No. But there are maps of Tartarian Empire and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that go back to 1700. So there are some evidence how this story got, out of proportion, and there are lies and half truth in it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about it. I'm not trying to say anything here.
I know. Yeah.
I figured it out, and this is it. No, but
I'm in this discussion. I'm just getting more curious to know where all this came from and what its purpose is. It's obviously here to show us something. Because I mean, before you mentioned it, I'd never heard of any of this. But since you mentioned it, I have heard a lot about it.
Actually, that's not true. I'm not saying you're lying. Maybe you don't remember.
Oh, what did I know?
The first time that I've heard anything about Tartarian was from you.
Was it?
Yes.
What did I say?
It was a podcast that we were talking about ancient civilizations and possibility of a modern advanced civilization. Not modern, ancient advanced civilization.
Oh.
And you say, yeah, as from recent as like Tartarian being erased. I don't know why.
Did I say that?
Yes.
Oh my God, now I'm worried.
We have it on tape.
I believe you, but I've totally forgotten that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, there you go. I better research myself a bit more too.
Yes, actually, it's fascinating. I know we need to have more sources to get the whole picture, the full picture of it.
But what I really mean is research this phenomenon of the interest in Tartarian things, because that's what I meant, really. It's like first you were talking about it, and then I have several of my Facebook friends quite fascinated with the whole thing too. So yeah, there is some. I think that's a good story in itself. The phenomenon of the reemergence of interest in Tartarian. You say it.
Tartarian, yeah.
Tartarian, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to have another episode about this because
That's what
a
I mean.
lot that we can talk about ancient civilizations as recent as Tartarian,
Yes.
going back to Atlantean and
Yes.
Lemurian. All these are all supposedly legends, and
Of course. Yeah.
there is no truth to them. But when you read about them, when you talk about them, you're like,
You know, maybe this is a good ending point, but especially Atlantis, of course, we see no physical evidence anywhere that I know of. There are a lot of theories, but there were so many people with some distant memory of the place. I think that's the phenomenon of Atlantis. Why just Atlantis? Why don't people have Lemuria or other ones that don't have a name? There doesn't seem to be much in the way of memory there, but just Atlantis. A lot of people I know anyway, it really goes, oh, it hits something in them.
yeah.
But we cannot, as you say, we cannot relate it to anything physical that we know of
Yet
yet.
they try to have these expeditions of oceans, and
Yeah.
well, what they did, they just like look for sinked ships, or what do you call it? What do you say? How do you say it?
Sunken ships.
Sunken. They try to just look for sunken ships, but there are people that dive deep and find these structures underwater. But I think if we keep doing that, keep advancing underwater, we're gonna find like physical evidence
Yeah.
for all these
I would love to think so. Yeah.
legends that
Yes.
we've been heard about.
But it should be a little easier to find Tartaria, because if it was just 100, 200 years ago, wow.
Yeah,
There's still bits there, hopefully.
yeah, exactly. And it goes back thousands of years.
Yes.
It's not like apparently they've been reigning for like several thousand years.
Okay.
So they're connected to even ancient Egypt. Like they got the technology, they got the knowledge from them.
Yes.
I don't know how right I am about it, but I like to think that.
Yeah.
This is a very fascinating topic, and we can have several podcasts about it, just talk about it and refer to sources, and maybe we can find someone that is like kind of an expert in Tartarian history. And
Yeah, that would be good.
yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
We have to be open to possibilities. We have to be
Absolutely,
open to
yeah.
discoveries, and we have to be asking those questions. We have to wonder about our past. We have to wonder about,
Yes.
oh, maybe there were advanced civilization that figures so many things out that we haven't
Yes.
in our time, that in our known history, for the lack of better term.
Well, that brings us back to our starting point. What's true and what's not true. And everything has some color, some, so
Yeah.
so you're right. It's who knows what's hidden in front of our eyes that we just haven't seen.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monsieur.
Thank you.